Welcome to All Over the Map, Episode 2. I'm your host, Jason Hafman. Thanks for joining me today. As I mentioned in my first episode, this program is adequately named because I have a lot of different interests. We will talk about all kinds of things, and I know a lot of really cool people, so we're going to have them on as guests. And it starts today with this gentleman right here, Mr. Matt Griffey of Kicks Unlimited.
Hey guys.
Matt, thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to do my first podcast with you, sir. I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
It should be great. So, just a little background. Mr. Griffey here. If you know him, you probably call him Mr. Griffey and not Matt. Anyway, through the kick school, has just really been the driver of the school in Stoughton. But Matt, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about Kicks Unlimited in general and kind of the locations you all have, and then we'll get a little bit more into the Stoughton School specifically.
Fantastic. So we have 3 different locations. They're all owned by Jen and Seth Degnan, really awesome mentors. I enjoy working with them. We have 3 different locations. We have the one here in Stoughton, we have one in Sun Prairie, and we also have the one in Fitchburg as well. All 3 locations are all ran by each of their head instructors. One was Steve Moore, and then the other one would be Andy Rupplinger. Very, very talented individuals. I enjoy working with them so much. Mr. Hafman, they push me to be better every single day.
Well, that's a lot of what this is about, right? I mean, when you look at the philosophy of kicks, when you look at the philosophy of what martial arts does for people, and I know, you and I want to talk about that a little bit too, but isn't that kind of the core message is do your best?
Of course, every time. When you come out on the floor, it's not just about, think about all the bills and everything else and day-to-day struggles that you have to deal with, and then when you get onto that floor, it's more about the idea of, this is me time. This is me. I want to be better. I want to be stronger. I want to be faster than I was when I came out here. So I think that's one of the main core values that Mr. D and Mrs. D both really try to focus in on a lot, is how can we make you one step better every day that you come into that door. So
I know part of that getting better too is challenging people, right? I mean, isn't that how people reach new goals, reach new heights, is by challenging themselves? And from being a student here myself, I've experienced that you will be challenged if you're at Kicks Unlimited.
Oh yes, sir. Like we always say at the end of every single class, it's sky's the limit, because our goal is not just to focus on today, but we can always focus forward and always learn to grow. The big thing that we're focusing on lately is growth mindset and staying present in what's happening here at the now, and finding ways to lay that path out to black belt or to a 2nd degree or 3rd degree or anything of that visual focus, and always setting and reaching goals.
So I want to go back to the Stoughton School in particular and yourself and your journey here, because you've been involved in martial arts tell everybody about how long you've been doing martial arts, and then how long you've been with Kicks Unlimited in particular.
So I've been doing martial arts for over 17 years now. I started when I was 14, long time ago. But it's been a journey, because our first school that I went through, the first school was kind of more hard. It was more challenging. It was more militaristic. It was this goal of, I want to develop a great martial artist. And I loved it, and I thought it was a great way to improve my physical well-being and my mental well-being as well. When I started to grow up, and I had 5 sisters and a brother, and the 5 sisters, I was always the eldest out of all of them. So I always wanted to be a better leader and a better role model for them. When I got to about 21, 22, it kind of fell apart, because I was always too hard and too mean, and I was just individual of militaristic type of foundation. When I found Kicks Unlimited at the age of 24, I came in with an open mind. I kept that open mind, and I always took what everyone was bringing in, all the feedback that I was getting. When I took that feedback back, I took it personally. I was like, well, what can I do to improve on my own? So I started opening up more and being more caring, listening more to the individual students rather than focused on myself. And I was still young, so it was still a difficult journey, but it was a journey that I had to go through to improve forward, or so that way I could move forward. So it's been a lot of fun to listen and really try to engage more with each individual parent and each individual student. Because it's not just the students that are here, the parents are the driving force. I mean, the parents really want to bring in the students so that way they can gain that same focus, that same kind of discipline. And it's been a really fun time.
Well, and you talk about the parents and the families, that's been, from the beginning very evident that this is a family atmosphere here at Kicks, and you want engagement with the families, even to the point where you're trying to encourage parents who maybe have never done martial arts or were kind of out of shape like myself to get out there on the floor and do their best.
Well, of course, because my theory is if you want your best for your kids, well, then your parents have to be a great leader as well. The parents should be getting out there, or if not, supporting them in a very positive manner, and I always like to find more ways to challenge everybody's personal growth and personal lifestyle. So I think it's really fun.
It is. It's a fun experience, and if you haven't tried it, I would suggest it. It's great. But one thing, going back to the philosophy of Kicks, and just you talked about your experience early on. Obviously, all schools are not the same. All martial artists are not the same. But one thing that's been evident from anyone I've talked to and our family's experience with the school as well is it really was about positive encouragement, about, just pumping people up to get them ready to do this, to do their best, to learn something that can be challenging and new. But there was always that energy and positive reinforcement from the top, from yourself, from the other instructors, that helps people push through those difficult challenges. And that's, I think, a key element to the success of this school. So,
yeah, I totally believe in that as well. One of the big things that I've been reading upon lately is failure. Failure is okay. It's finding a way to grow from that point and to continue that positive reinforcement. Hey, you know what? That was a pretty good kick. Now let's find a way to improve on it. Can we pivot more? Can we round kick more? Hey, you fell down? That's okay. Let me help you back up. And then from there, we'll find out what we can do to improve so that way you don't fall over it more. Or, hey, you know what? I have people outside that are getting bullied a lot of the times. And the bully issue is really tough, and it's really, really a strong point that I try to focus in on a lot as well. And it's rather than letting them the bully get into the student or anything of that nature, it's finding ways to say, hey, you know what? It's okay that you're that way. I want to find a way to help you build you back up, build that confidence up. Where at the other schools I've been in and involved with, it feels more like they want to tear you down to be nothing and then build you back up to be even one step stronger, which is a good way to do it. That's the way that the military is drive you down and then drive you back up. I'd rather keep you as you are and then find a way to grow from that point. So it's not always easy, because sometimes it's like, hey, come on, refocus. And you tend to repeat yourself quite a bit. But that's one of the best parts about becoming a teacher as a parent as well, You probably feel that way as well as a parent, is I have to repeat myself 1,000 times.
It happens.
It does.
Yeah, it happens. But what's interesting that you bring up, and the bullying issue is getting more attention in school, and I think there's more emphasis, more focus on zero tolerance, that type of thing in schools. But obviously, it's never anything that's going to be eliminated. So for kids to experience how to appropriately deal with different scenarios, situations, I know that's something that you here at Kicks Unlimited, you guys put an emphasis on that, like basically role-playing different scenarios. Here's what we could do, and you talk about it, you spend time talking with the students about it. Tell us about why that's such a big part of what you guys want to do here at the school.
Well, we want the individuals to gain that confidence, and we don't want people to fight back at them. A lot of people before that I've done in my own personal experiences is when either I was being bullied or I was getting bullied, I always felt really bad afterwards. I felt really guilty. And I was always trying to find a way to help empower them to get out there, let me excuse that. Scratch that. So I've had personal experiences before being bullied. I've also had personal experience of maybe even being that bully, and then realizing later on in life that, you know what, I've been bullied, or I was being bullied because I was not confident in myself. And since I wasn't feeling confident in myself, I always thought I should, bring other people to my level. And then later on, when we started working a few years ago, I'd say about 4 or 5 years ago, all the head instructors, all the individuals from Kicks Unlimited got together. We talked and we talked and we talked. What was the number one focus that we wanted to improve on? And the number one focus that I brought up was bullying. How can we improve on that point? How can we gain that confidence so that individuals, one, know how to walk away with their head held high. Two, how they can get away from the shower. All right, so if you think about this in a shower aspect, people enjoy taking a shower, right? They get into the shower, they enjoy it, they're like, oh, this feels great. But as soon as they get rained upon, they don't want to be out there in the rain anymore. And that's pretty much what we want to take. And you know what? Rather than feeling that aspect of, I want to get bullied, or if they get bullied, rather than being in a shower, more of a rained on, we want to try and take that shower on. And I think it's a really good way to redirect that focus so that they feel confident in tough situations like that.
Yeah, I think it's outstanding to be putting kids and talking about different scenarios, because I think that's how, there are a lot of things education-wise across the board where you kind of talk about the rules or you talk about how to do something, but they don't actually get into, okay, in this particular scenario or situation, these are some options for you. This is how you might be able to respond, and it might come out with a positive result for you. I don't think those scenarios or role playing happens often in education for us across the board. About a number of things. I think it's more general rules and teaching, and then a lot of times when you get into a situation that you're uncomfortable with, you don't always remember those rules, but you would be more likely to remember that scenario that maybe you covered if it was similar to what's happening to you at that moment. And that's why I feel like that approach is so beneficial and important. So that nugget is in the back of someone's mind, and if they're put in that situation, that comes forward and they know how to deal with that situation better. That's the way I look at it anyway.
Correctly, it's that muscle memory, that repeat of, oh, I've done this before. I've been in this scenario. We always talk about we don't wear shoes on the mat, but the idea of, oh, your shoes look ugly. Well, that's okay. I kind of like them. I think they're actually really, really nice. Thank you for bringing up that fact though. But I'll see you later. And then they can walk away with their head held high. And the more that we can practice that role play of, hey, you know what? It's okay. Hey, you came over and talked to me? Hey, thanks for being my friend today. High five. And that bully's going to feel a little weird. They're going to be like, well, I don't want to talk to you. You're a weirdo. I just made fun of you. And they might walk away from that situation. So we want to try and focus on that more often, is that muscle memory and building and repeating that muscle memory. So
let's talk about the health and just basically great exercise aspect of martial arts, because it is a workout. You're working a lot of different muscle groups and you're gaining a whole lot from it. So why don't you tell us about some of the benefits there, just for workout wise, health wise, for people if they get into it?
Well, one of the things that I always think about is the cardio aspect first. The cardio aspect.
Yeah, that's the part I don't really like that much, but okay, go ahead. Go ahead, yeah.
Well, it's not always the easiest of terms, because what do? We push you, we push you, we push you, we keep moving. Martial arts is a continuous motion type of activity, and we try to find ways to take away that wasted motion. And that's hard, taking away that wasted motion. Like there's Zumba, there's dancing and things like that. And it's how can you get the most out of the smallest amount of effort? Mimi, minimal or maximum effort with minimal effort. Maximum effort with minimal effort, I believe, is the way I was trying to focus on. And the idea is how can you maximize it with minimal effort? So how and that's hard. So it's getting that heart rate up, keeping that heart rate up at an elevated level so that way you're burning 300 calories within a half hour. It was crazy. I was just reading about calories burnt during a cardio sit bike for like a half hour in a martial arts class. Martial arts class won by almost 100 calories in the half hour time. I was just like, that's the most craziest thing I've ever heard of before, because I didn't expect that a martial arts class would be more than a stationary bike. Because I've done those stationary bikes classes, and I'll tell you what, I am sweating and I am huffing and I am puffing at those classes. But the fact of getting out here, throwing different kicks, throwing different punches, jumping, push-ups, sit-ups, squats, all those things keep moving. Even punching on a Wave Master, one of those big black Wave Masters over there, just beating the snot out of it. You feel great. You release so many great endorphins. And with your heart rate already up and moving, your body wants to keep moving. It doesn't really want to stop. And when at the end of the class, you're like, let's keep moving. And you're like, all right, everyone attention, bow. Kicks unlimited, sky's the limit. And you're like, but I wanted to do so much more. So it's always a great exercise.
And I'll go back. I mean, cardio is important. Don't get me wrong. It's just not my favorite part of doing it. But one of the things too, I think that is just when you're looking at some of the benefits and some of the things that happen with that, with any type of exercise. Here, you don't need a piece of equipment. Here, you don't. I mean, you're using your body. You're using what you have, and you're gaining so much within the framework of your body by stretching, by flexibility, by strength, even just by doing some of the stances and poses, by basically stretching that body down, you're gaining strength that way. So I think that's another great component to it. You don't have to grab a piece of equipment, you don't have to plug something in, you don't have to do all that sort of stuff, and you can get a great workout.
Yeah, that's correct, and it's just a thought process. What's the next motion? What do I feel like I need to improve on? Maybe a round kick. I've talked to so many individuals when they first start out, and they can only kick maybe their knee height. 4 to 6 months into it, they're starting to kick at their shoulder height. I mean, that flexibility right there, that's just an impressive success rate. Or individuals that come up to me and say, you know what, I've lost 10 pounds already. I had an individual last night actually come up to me and say, within the 5 months that I've been here, I've lost 10 pounds. And I've gained, and I'm tighter everywhere. I've gained so much confidence in myself that I can actually go out and do these things. I had another individual a couple weeks ago come up to me and say, you know what? I was able to run 5 laps without stopping. And the floor is not that big, and you were able to run 5 laps without stopping. That's great. Just always finding ways to succeed. Even individuals that I talk to that are actually really physically capable, and they're able to say, you know what, yes, I was able to kick above my head beforehand, but now I can feel the power. I can feel the strength where I've never felt it before. So, we thank you for what you've accomplished with us, or, what I've accomplished. We thank you for that. And it's like, well, I didn't do anything. It's all on you. You made that choice to come out here. You made the choice to push and challenge yourself where no one else really has, So congratulations to yourself.
It is a lot of self-motivation, but I mean, let's be honest, you help motivate a lot of people to keep going. So talking about your role here, what do you feel is your role when you have a class of students and you're trying to get them to achieve their best?
To be a positive leader. That's the number one. Get out there and be a positive role model, not only just inside the karate school, but also outside of the karate school. A lot of people I've been doing a lot of different things lately to try to understand the community more, to understand the floor or the community that I get to work with on a daily basis. The people that I get to work with, I really try to be that, wow, that's that positive role model that I want in my life for my kids. It's not just the parents, but it's the kids that I really want to have. I want them to focus in and say, you know what, I have that positive role model. I want to stay here. I want to be that one day. I want to be that positive role model that I can help other people. And it's not just myself.
Talking about kids, what do you think are the most important benefits for kids that get into martial arts, and in particular your school or the Kicks Unlimited family schools?
Focus, discipline, respect. Respect is probably the biggest out of all of them. The children also starting to be more aware of what they're doing on a daily basis. If they can start to be more aware of what they're doing on a daily basis, the way that they speak to others, the way that they can see improvement in themselves, that makes me feel very, very happy, and it makes them feel great about it as well. Parents come up to me and talk to me about how martial arts doesn't only affect here, but it also starts to affect other places as well. Maybe soccer or football or baseball. You can tell that martial art, they come up to me and they say, hey, you know what? It's transitioning around, or it's flowing over into other areas as well. So even in school, that they're focused more. That's one of the greatest things, is when a parent comes up to me and they say, you know what? The grades were starting to go really, really slump, but when we started martial arts, the grades and the focus just started to boom. And that's something that I take a lot of pride in, is seeing those kids succeed, not only in the martial arts school, but outside as well.
And I think another thing that I've observed just in general is kids' awareness of situations and of other people more. Because there's plenty of people in this world that are very id focused, even though they're adults. But when you're a kid, that's even a stronger trait for the most part. But I think what you guys do that's great around here is you've always got the kids looking at other people, at other situations, and maybe trying to do something nice, like make a letter or make a sign or do some sort of positive feedback for someone to pick them up when they notice that someone might be having a rough time, or even just to brighten their day a little bit. And I really admire that part of it too, and I think it's super important for kids to see that and start it early in their lives.
Empathy is a big thing. Empathy is probably one of the hardest things, and I feel the programs that we've started and the programs that we're working with on a continuous basis lately is to bring out that empathy. When we were younger, we had Cub Scouts, we had Boy Scouts, we had church, we had all these different things, and I feel today we don't have those type of role models. We don't have those types of things as influential as we did before. So now that we've started these different programs, we can really focus in and remember that empathy towards other people and towards our community as well. And maybe those kids that sit by themselves, they've implemented buddy benches and things like that in schools, but there shouldn't have needed to be one of those. We should have been able to realize and recognize those feelings. So that's what we're really trying to focus on, is how can we get those individuals to focus more around and be aware of those people, so that way they can help lift those guys up.
Now, if we could just expand that to all the drivers on the roadway, a little more awareness of what's happening and a courtesy towards other drivers. If you can do anything about that, we'll get you signed up for that too.
Oh, actually, I was watching a really nice podcast a couple of weeks ago. It was about this individual that how they have like the red cards and the yellow cards in soccer.
Yeah.
So they were bringing up, the guy just had these two cards, and as he was driving, some guy like cut him off, and he just went, red card, and they just both laughed about it. And it was the idea of bringing out something that everyone can relate to, and then just finding that way to empathize with them.
I think that's great.